When we returned from Nicaragua in March of 2022, uh, we were greeted by the news in the newspaper that the quote White House had approved the Willow Project, which was an oil drilling project in the wilderness in Alaska. When I read that, and it was an Associated Press story at the time, not in great length, but it was an Associated Press, and it said that somebody had done a quick calculation and determined that the amount of the CO2 that would be released from the burning of the oil from that drilling project would exceed the amount of CO2 prevented by all the electric cars in America. Now, it didn't. I think it said all the electric cars in America at that time. Hopefully, there are going to be a lot more of them, saving a lot more CO2 in the future. But for now, it laid that out. We're going to drill, get more oil, burn more gasoline and diesel that is going to produce more CO2 than all the CO2 that's being prevented by all the electric cars in America. And of course, we've got a 6-year-old all-electric car, which we financially sacrificed. About a fourth of the price that we paid for was in excess of what we could have gotten a similar good gas car for. And I didn't care so much about that we'd sacrificed to buy an electric car. What I cared about was we're going over the waterfall. If we've got an administration that announces that climate change is an existential threat, and they turn around then and approve more drilling. And as I study the New York Times and pay close attention and try and understand what's going on, I realize that Biden and his political advisors were determined to tell the American people that they were going to get the price of gas at the pump down, and we were going to have a growing economy, and everything was just going to be rosy. Well, now, last week we had the Helene hurricane in southeastern United States, and the death toll is now up over 200 people, and a lot of bodies haven't been found yet, or people haven't been traced down. And another hurricane is heading for Florida as we speak. The water in the Gulf of Mexico is getting hotter and hotter, and it gets sucked up into the sky and then dropped on the land, and it causes the water to rush down off higher ground to lower ground, ripping up towns, ripping up houses and bridges and carrying cars away. And we're continuing to say, we're going to grow the economy. We're going to burn more gas and more oil because we're going to make you all so wealthy. And I have a lot of sympathy for the people who are trying to get enough money together to pay their rent, and I want to do things about that. But I became very discouraged. I've been an optimistic person all my life, but when I read that about the Willow Project, I was hurled into a depression that I haven't yet come out of totally. We're going to go over the waterfall. We're going to get flooded, and we're going to have droughts and floods and storms, and I don't know. Some of the people, I heard Joe Biden say, kind of off the cuff, a couple of nights ago on the news, he was sitting somewhere with some other people, knowing the cameras were there, and he said, well, anybody that doesn't think now that climate change is causing disruption is brain dead, quote, brain dead. Well, you haven't heard him say anything that blunt before, but now, when he's just about out the door, and I'm sympathetic to the politicians. Many years ago, probably around 79 or 78, Jimmy Carter said, I want you to turn your thermostat down a little bit in the winter and put on a sweater. And there was a firestorm of criticism for him for that. You're going to disrupt our comfort? Our comfort? So if we had a presidential candidate now that said, we've got to slow the economy, they'd be hooted out. But we do. We need to reduce, repair, recycle, reuse. That's the way to fight the climate change catastrophe. But who's going to say it? Who's going to take the hit for saying that? I'm not sure. But it's nobody we got now. Even that the guy I love so much, Bernie Sanders, he hasn't said it. He hasn't said it. So I don't know how bad things are going to have to get until we mobilize against climate change. We're going to have to turn the thermostat down in the winter and up in the summer. We're going to have to raise a few vegetables, even if it's just in the traffic strip in front of our houses or in flower pots on our porches. We've got to start cooking at home more. We've got to eat a simpler diet, and so on. But it's too late, I think. And my little dog thinks it's not too late to warn us that something's happening she wants to alert us to. But that's me on climate change, I guess.